Welcome to battle number 5 of week number 4 of the FNF Seafoam Isles Draft League. I'm your host Lionhunt, and I'll be commentating this morning's replay match between Marv of the Lincoln Lanturns versus Teal Platypus of the Aero Tuffs. Before we begin, let's go ahead and review the Mega and Sea Pokemon making appearances today. On Marv's corner, we seem to only have Mega Gardevoir and no Sea Pokemon making an appearance. On Teal Platypus's corner, we have Mega Venusaur as well as Z Attack Terrakion and Z NE Espeon, all making an appearance. So before we begin, let's go over some brief initial thoughts. In Marv's side, I'm kind of expecting a Sandstorm combo, given Excadrill's presence and obviously Hippowdon, who has Sandstream. And after a Swords Dance, Excadrill probably sweeps the entire team, obviously being a big threat to Florges, Terrakion, and Mega Venusaur. Though if Cronont or Serena get a hit in, that might just be it. So Teal probably wants to take out Hippowdon maybe earlier on to prevent Excadrill from getting that chance to sweep. And looking at Crobat as well, I'm kind of expecting maybe some more fast utility support, maybe Toxic, maybe some Taunt, Super Fang. We also have Brave Bird, which can do some good damage to Venusaur and Serena, not to mention access to Poison for the Florges as well. Maybe like Cross Poison or Sludge Bomb or something like that. Not to mention we also have Vaporeon, who's a very good Wish Passer and pretty decent special attacker in his own right, though I don't think Water's going to be that effective versus this team other than maybe Terrakion. So we'll see how Vaporeon gets used. And going back to Hippowdon, who's basically there to go ahead and support Excadrill, not just with access to Sandstream, but also Stealth Rock, which could also, give that chip damage and whittle down Teal's team, bringing it closer to kill range for Excadrill or Mega Gardevoir even. And lastly, we also do have Masquerain. I'm very curious to see how she gets used, especially since there's access to Quiver Dance, and I would love to see the little baby get a few, at least a few good hits in her. Just really curious. I might be a little bit biased just because I find Masquerain really cute, so I'll try to stay out of it, but we'll see. I'm very curious. And going on to Teal Platypus' side, we also seem to have a pretty well-balanced team, but I think there's just a little bit more bulk overall. Similar to Excadrill, we do have Terrakion, who also has access to Swords Dance. They can pretty much sweep from there. Even just neutral attacks on everybody else can do massive, massive damage. The only problem I see is maybe Hippowdon, even after Swords Dance. Terrakion might still have problems pushing through. But otherwise, yeah, Terrakion just easily destroys Masquerain, Crobat, Excadrill, maybe even Vaporeon, depending on the stat spread, and assuming it doesn't get statused. However, Gardevoir is probably the biggest threat, just given that Fairy typing as well as that bulk. So that might be priority target for Teal. And in response, Teal could always probably rely on Mega Venusaur and Cronont to an extent, but because of that dual typing, it's both a double-edged sword. You get that super effective typing with Poison with Venusaur or Dark with Cronont. However, both are kind of weak to Fairy and Psychic, respectively. Additionally, those hazards that can be set up by Hippowdon can definitely be answered by Rapid Spin Serena, assuming she's bringing Rapid Spin as well. And Espeon, also pretty good special wall / special attacker, kind of doing neutral damage to most Pokemon on this team, except for Excadrill, obviously. So kind of similar to Vaporeon in that sense, though I think in this case Florges might be a better Wish Passer than Espeon's, but we'll see. And not to mention that Florges also has access to Aromatherapy, and I believe both Pokemon get access to Moonlight, so they can last a pretty long while. I'm kind of expecting to see Toxic on at least one of those two as well. So all in all, I think we see some pretty similar well-balanced teams with like a good, at least 1 or 2 sweepers. But I think it's all going to have to come down to how well the play-by-plays go, what kind of tactical choices each trainer makes. Anyway, let's go ahead and begin. Thinking a potential starter could probably be Hippowdon to set up Sand Sweep early, and oh, Serena could also be really good as a starter too. And instead we see X-Wing, the shiny Crobats, making their first appearance, probably going to do a nice U-turn, if not a Toxic. And out comes Espeon the Espeon, and oh, a Brave Bird! Espeon is down in 1 shot, X-Wing takes about 25% recoil damage. The score is already 6-5, we're barely in turn 1. Out comes Crawdont. And Vance the Vaporeon is going to probably take some sort of... Okay, Crunch is the move that gets used. I wonder if that's a Crawdont with adaptability, also a really heavy hitter. 61% damage, however, Vance eats the Citrus Berry and recovers a little bit. Opposing Vance uses a Flip Turn. Sorry, I don't know why I said opposing. And switches out to Gypsy, the Masquerade, using an Intimidate, or carrying Intimidate as an ability. However, Crunch is still enough to bring it down to 4%, but that Intimidate will help pressure him out. Out comes Forges to take whatever Gypsy's next move is going to be. And a nice Sticky Web. It'll make it much easier for Excadrill to sweep even without Sand Rush. And the opposing Gypsy and Gypsy has used Toxic to whittle away at Forges. Eventually Forges is going to have to either use Aromatherapy to clear that out. So it does at least buy Marv 1 turn to go ahead and mess with Forges, assuming Teal leaves Forges out. Out comes Tifa, the Mega Gardevoir. I still don't know if that's a reference to Antifa or it's some kind of like character. I forgot to ask Marv. And Tifa's going for the Calm Mind. That'll make it much harder to deal with unless Serakin can come out and do some heavy damage physically. Forges uses Moonblast, does a respectable damage at 20%. It's probably going to drop down to maybe 15 if not for another Calm Mind. And Tifa goes for the substitute. Moonblast does not take out that substitute. Last time it only did about 20% damage. So Tifa's probably going to do another Calm Mind and then start sweeping. And Tifa uses another Calm Mind. And Forges uses another Moonblast to finally get rid of that substitute. Forges is now taking heavy damage from Toxic. It's doing 24% damage now. And Tifa goes for the substitute once again. Tifa is now at 31% health. And it looks like Forges is about to... Yep, that's 31% damage. If Steel Platypus is not Aromatherapy, Tifa is free to go ahead and... Oh, there it is. There's the Hyper Voice. And down goes Forges. The score is now 5-4 in Mars' favor. Out comes Venusaur, caught in that Sticky Web, lowered its speed by 1 stage. And Venusaur Mega Evolves. I wonder if we're gonna see... Ooh, a Psyshock. Not even... There was no chance it could have stood up. It died in 1 shot. The score is now 5-3. Tifa is very comfortably behind that substitute. Crawdont is also caught in that Sticky Web. And that Aqua Jet is enough to take out the substitute. However, let's see how Tifa responds. Probably a Hyper Voice. And indeed, Hyper Voice takes Crawdont out completely. The score is now 5-2. If Terrakion has some sort of a priority move, it's possible that Teal can maybe turn this around. But it seems pretty unlikely given that Serena has come out and takes the critical hit from the Hyper Voice. Not sure that critical hit was necessary, most likely it wasn't. And out comes Terrakion, Teal's final Pokemon. If there's any way you can survive that Psyshock or Hyper Voice, oh. And there it goes, another one-hit KO. Tifa with that Calm Mind sweep set has completely won the battle. That's very intense. I mean, in retrospect, I probably should have called that as well, since Excadrill's probably better set up as in cleaner. I just got so excited seeing 2 sand-based Pokemon, but anyway, this is my mistake for not calling that out. But again, Tifa shows how terrifying they can be. And this ends the match. This is a 5-0 victory for Marv. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm very excited to see what the final battles will be for this week. Stay tuned.